Hello everybody, welcome to this new video where I want to talk about two successes, two stocks that everybody's talking about right now, yet two very different valuation. And of course these stocks are the channel favorite HIMS, which is a stock that I've covered heavily for the past 2 years, and then a stock that I used to like when the valuation was much lower, that I still own about half of my original position, but this is an internet darling. This is even beginning to be a Wall Street darling in some circles. So I just want to talk about a tale of two stocks that I own, and you'll see the numbers are quite different when it comes to valuation. So first of all, let's just look at the business. The business of both Palantir and HIMS is highly successful. Both of these businesses are highly successful. Both of these businesses have seen revenue increase in their prior quarter. In their last quarter, they've both seen an acceleration in revenue. Palantir's revenue has accelerated in Q4, and in Q3, HIMS's revenue has also accelerated and is rumored by the market to really accelerate even more in Q4 2024 if credit card data is to be believed. Both businesses have also increased their number of customers, whether it's Palantir or HIMS. Not only do they get the current customer to spend more, but they also get more customer. The top line is doing excellent for both of these businesses. What else is doing well for these businesses? Well, the gross profit is excellent, 83%. You can see HIMS dropped a tad to 79%, but it's roughly well into the 80% on average over the long run. So about similar on the gross margin. Of course, the Palantir talks about adjusted free cash flow and operations, and they talk about a 63% margin. It all depends how you calculate it and how you look at it. Of course, the way Palantir presents it looks much better than HIMS, but HIMS is earlier on in its operating leverage. So I wouldn't take the 12% that HIMS currently does on adjusted EBITDA as a permanent thing. It's definitely going to increase. And when you look at earnings, right, actual earnings, and this is something that I don't really care about on this channel, because I want my businesses to invest in growth. I want them to have that marketing expense, that sales expense, that R&D expense to invest in growth. But if you look at earnings, you can see that HIMS in Q3 24 achieved, let's round it up to $76 million, and Palantir achieved $79 million. They would have achieved $165 million if it were not for stock-based compensation. SIR, they have a little asterisk, and then they refer you back to the 8K, and then when you dig into the 8K, you realize this is stock-based compensation. So that would have been 164 without stock-based, 79 with stock-based. Now, I don't really care much about stock-based. So the business itself is doing well. You're getting diluted, but the business is doing well at 164. So still roughly twice as much as HIMS on the income. So you may think Palantir is a company that is twice as big, right? I mean, it's roughly twice as big. No. It's way more than twice as big. If you look at the valuation of Palantir is clearly insane. I cannot understand this valuation, but this is why I own this stock in my bucket of owning the best regardless of valuation. Because if you look at, say, Amazon in the early days from 2003 to 2010-ish, Amazon valuation never made any sense. It was absolutely ridiculous. In fact, the PE could have been construed in many of these early big tech firms. Those PEs could have been construed as even crazier. The same was true for Netflix. This is a business that you gotta assess on quality, but from the moment you start incorporating valuation, it makes absolutely no sense. And I have an itch to sell it, just like I had an itch to sell Nvidia. And that was a wrong idea. I have an itch to sell Palantir at this valuation. And next thing you know, what if it triples again? That might have been the wrong idea again. We have problems with large numbers. I guarantee you, if you go back 4 years ago, 3 years ago, few people thought Nvidia would be a $3 trillion company. And now we see a lot of chatter about Nvidia possibly being a $5 trillion company. not too far from now. So this is a stock that I can't assess based on valuation, because if I apply valuation rules, that will tell me to sell the stock. Same for Tesla. If I apply valuation rules to Tesla, it will tell me to sell the stock. Why? Because it's 60 times forward sales. Next year's sales trading at 60 times. Adjusted EBITDA, the way I calculate it in my spreadsheet here, is 174x. And so you see on my valuation where I ask, how much am I paying for that growth? Enterprise value over gross profit or revenue growth. How much am I paying? A 3.13. It is extremely expensive. In fact, it's about 20 times more expensive than HIMS on the same metric. The rule of 40 is 76 in the way I calculate it. Palantir calculates its own rule of 40 as higher than 80. So the business is really, really doing well. But the stock, in my view, it's gotten out of hands. I'm not adding at these levels, but I'm not selling because I still have a pain from selling NVIDIA early on. And I'm glad that I've had this pain for a while, because that's why I can now enjoy half my position at 103. My cost basis on Palantir is like a $9 or something like that. Anyways, let's talk about HIMS. HIMS now, on the other hand, and this is still one of the cheapest stocks out there in my spreadsheet. It's growing sales at 50% too, 90% roughly recurring revenue, perhaps even more than that. Half of the sales are personalized, and they're only trading at 4 times forward sales, 4 times next 12 months sales. And so I consider this stock still cheap, despite the fact that if you look at the total performance, and not from the IPO price in the case of him, but from the moment this stock was starting to get noticed, you can see you're getting to almost 800% of performance, which is not too dissimilar from Palantir. Anybody would have bought Palantir, say, at IPO, or anybody would have bought Palantir in the 2023, late 2022 period. The performance is not dissimilar, but the valuation of these two companies sure is. Palantir is a market darling. HIMS is not a market darling, maybe one day. And this is how you could get some multiple expansion in HIMS, which would get it to a much higher enterprise value, much more than 8 billion. Keep in mind the enterprise value of Palantir is now above 200 billion. It's not quite a Salesforce, but almost. And I'll conclude with this. If these two stocks have this in common, it's the volatility. I find it fascinating that the volatility on Palantir is actually 168. You even have special ETFs that are just out there just to write options to harness that volatility, kind of like MicroStrategy when we talk on this channel. HIMS also has outstanding volatility at 116, which means that there's a lot of interest from the market on these stocks. There's a lot of options written on these stocks. They are hot stocks, but always the valuation different. I like both stocks. I much prefer HIMS. I would not add to Palantir at these levels. That's the takeaway from this video. This was not investment advice. This was not financial advice. This is just entertainment. Hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe. Follow me on Patreon. Follow me on X. I appreciate all the support, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.